Hi, folks. John Adams again with my friend Jim Duffy from Phoenix Global Mortgage. And Jim, we appreciate you taking the time to
Absolutely, Tom.
talk to us about mortgages. A lot of people have questions. And right now, I want to ask you about investor loans.
Sure.
I've heard so much. I read in the Wall Street Journal recently that the market for investor loans has dried up just to such a degree that it's very difficult for some people to find these loans. You're with Phoenix Global Mortgage. You guys have been here since 1992.
Yes.
I know you've been working with Snap Decato and the good folks at MetrovestAtlanta.com. Our
Great to work with
investor,
for investors.
thank
Sure.
you.
Good
Are
folks.
investor loans available? You're a Freddie Mac direct lender. What does
Yes.
that mean, and what's out there for folks?
Well, it's interesting. I missed that article in the Wall Street Journal. I totally missed that, but I would beg to differ also. Certainly, investor loans are a little bit tougher to come by than they were in the past, which they should be.
Well, in the past, you could just sort of hold your hand out and the loan would drop in. So
Absolutely. No, but 30-year fixed rates for investors are, 20 to 25% down is what you need for an investor loan these days.
And that's a change.
That is a change.
Yeah.
It used to be, 90 to 100% you could
that's
do
right.
finance. But
That's right.
no, you need a down payment these days, which stands to reason. It's
Yeah.
an investment property. It's a little more risky for the end investor, which is Freddie Mac.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure there's some equity in there and some skin in the game. But no, I mean, typically I build into the rate the points that Freddie charges for being an investor. So, rates are terrific with no points on these investor loans. And obviously the prices are terrific. So with Freddie Mac, the only limitation is you can have 4 finance properties max. Now, Fannie Mae will go to 10.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
Have you ever done any?
Actually, I have. I've just recently done a couple. But the restrictions from properties 5 through 10 are pretty extensive.
Yeah.
You're going to have significant reserves and et cetera. But no, the first 4 properties are fairly simple and straightforward.
Right.
Now, the finance properties do include your primary residence. So
Okay.
if you have a mortgage on that, that's 1. You can get up to 3 more.
And but if you have 3 mortgages on one property, that still only counts as one property.
Yes, it's per property.
Okay, so it's
Yes.
per property. Well, that's important. Are these loans fixed rate or are they adjustable or?
I'm typically doing fixed rate mortgages for investors because the number of exit strategies is important on an investor loan. You can do a 5-1 ARM. You certainly can, where it's fixed for 5 years, then adjust.
Right.
But what if the market hasn't fully turned, or you're not ready to sell, or you have a long-term renter in there when year 5 comes?
I think of for an investor property, Jim. I sort of think of adjustable rate mortgages, almost like a balloon mortgage.
Yeah.
And I've
Right.
always said balloons are for clowns. I'm sorry, I just don't want a balloon mortgage on an investment property. Because you're
No.
right. If one of your exit strategies is a sale and the market tanks, which it does from time to
Sure.
time, I mean,
It can happen.
it sure can happen.
Look at the last 3 years. Sure.
I don't want to look at the last 3 years, but nonetheless, a fixed rate mortgage can be a great comfort
Right.
in a situation
Because cash
like
flow
that.
everything's about cash flow in
Right.
rental property. And you make your money, I think, when you buy the property.
You better.
Not the exit.
You better.
So if you don't want to take that risk of eating through your cash flow with an adjustable that goes
That
up.
is so important what he just said. Listen to me. You make your money going into the deal because you decide how much you're going to pay for that property. Okay? The market is going to determine what you sell that property for.
Right.
And if you decide, well, I've got to have X number of dollars or I'm not going to sell, every time you don't sell, you've bought the property for that price that you turned down. So make your money on the way in. Very important. Couple other topics. What would maximum loan amounts be on investor loans?
$417,000. It's the same as conforming.
Okay.
Now, I haven't seen investor loans go up that high. Typically, I'm doing investor loans somewhere in and around 100,000, 150 tops.
Well, I think the sweet spot in Atlanta, Georgia right now for maximum cash flow is under a value property under 150,000.
Right. Because
and
cash flow works so much better.
exactly,
You can rent it for the highest amount, whereas cash flow is
exactly.
your very slow.
This is gets into a little more complex topic, but those of you that are investors, you need to call Jim Duffy and talk with him about this exact topic because there are some complexities here that can affect you and your investments. Pre-qualifying. Oh, let's talk about hard money loans. If
Sure.
somebody wants to buy let's say it's a bank-owned property, an REO.
Needs a lot of work.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
not even a lot of work, but you and I went on a tour of homes not too long ago, and we saw some
Pretty impressive homes.
pretty impressive
Yeah.
homes that some
For
of them
cheap.
needed, 10 to 15,000. We saw one that hardly needed anything.
Right. And others that needed 50,000 at least.
Those scared me. Those
Right.
scared me.
Me too.
There was a dead dog in
I
one
didn't
of
go
those.
with one.
Right.
Yeah.
In that situation, Freddie Mac is not going to issue an acquisition loan.
Not unless the property is inhabitable. And inhabitable means, it's got to have all the stuff. It's got to have heating and air. It's got to have carpet and where carpets do, and it's got to have tile where they're supposed to be tile.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
countertops.
Substantially completed.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be beautiful, but it has to be occupiable,
Right.
if you will. Okay. Assuming it's not, and it's a good enough deal,
Right.
and somebody wants to buy it, let's say they're buying it from a bank and they don't have large reserves, can they go to what you and I call a hard money lender
Sure.
or a short-term lender,
Or private money lender.
Private
whatever
money
term you put
lender.
to it. Yeah.
and get the money necessary to buy the property? How does Phoenix Global work hand in glove with a hard money lender to look before the deal is done?
Right. That's the
Make
important
sure
part.
that it's going to have a successful conclusion. That
Just like-
wasn't asked very well, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, just like the exit strategy we talked about from the rental property itself. Someday you want to exit from it somehow. Hard money, you really want to know what your exit is going to be, because hard money is very short-term money.
Yeah.
They do not want to have their loan out there very long.
Well, it's isn't usually 90 to 120 days is what they,
Exactly.
and if it gets to be 180, they're coming looking for you.
Yeah, 6 months tops.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. See, what we do is we get the investor pre-approved for the final financing, that 30-year fixed rate,
Mhm.
and make sure there's going to be no problem there. And then they can go confidently get the acquisition money, the hard money, do all the fix-ups, get ready, and then we'll refinance that hard money and get them out of that into a fixed rate loan.
And they can have some level of confidence going into the purchase
Right.
that on the tail end they're not going to be left hanging.
Right. You're
I
not
mean,
going to have
you
to.
don't want to have Guido coming after you
Yeah, those hard money guys are not kind like we
with
are.
with a tire bar threatening to break your knees or something like that. Now you've done some of that, but not with Phoenix Global, right?
Yeah, well, no, that's a side thing. Not a big deal.
Okay. All right. Folks, obviously this is a more complex topic. This is one of the things that we talk about at the Real Estate Academy, one of the things that we talk about on the John Adams radio show every Saturday at noon, and that's why I've had on several occasions Jim Duffy to come in and be a special guest where we can explore these topics in
Sure,
more detail.
absolutely.
But obviously, anytime you consider making an investment, I don't care if it's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or real estate, you really need to educate yourself. And the other thing I would say is so important in any real estate transaction, surround yourself with a team of professionals. And right here is one of the professionals that I would encourage you to go ahead, pick up the phone, make a phone call, just introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm interested in learning more about this real estate process, whether it's buying their own home,
Sure.
refinancing, or thinking about maybe that investment. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a rental property. You guys offer financing for second homes.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I can tell
Any
you
mountain
this,
property, beach property,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
folks,
Sure.
I own property on St. Simon's Island, and I can tell you now is the time to buy because it's
Yeah, I mean,
really a roller
Prices
coaster.
are low, rates are low, everything. It's a perfect storm right
Yeah,
now. to buy.
it really is. So,
And rents are up. Rents are still solid.
yep.
So
So where can folks get hold of you?
give me a call, 770-518-2440.
770-518-2440 for Jim Duffy at Phoenix Global Mortgage. You won't even charge them for the call, will you?
Nope.
Free.
Approval's free.
Free, and the free phone call is free as well. Folks, thanks a lot. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you on the radio.
Thanks, John.